Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Teague, and with me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So, after a grueling 6 months of waiting, we finally have confirmation that Invincible Season 3 will be coming out next February.
With no breaks, apparently.
No break. They very, very poignant that there will not be a mid-season break this time, which is a good idea.
It's like you shouldn't have to say, but the fact that you did is like comforting, but also not a selling point. Because like, why would you have one in the first
Like I would like to say it's because the show wasn't ready or because they just needed more time to finish or whatever, but who really knows? but, but yeah, it's I think it's February 6th. Um, the release date was leaked about a week ago, so I think they went ahead and like they had this trailer ready for whatever, so they went ahead and released it, which is good because I remember you going on record saying that you were thinking it'd be like another 2 year break between
I
seasons.
did. I was kind of like, there was gonna be a while. Because I mean, again, this show is really good. The voice acting's amazing. The animation's
Mhm.
really good. The story's great. But the show has been out for what, 4 years?
Yeah,
And we
four.
have a combined what, like 16 episodes and one special
Yeah.
in 4 years is kind of, I mean, that's like 4 episodes a year. I mean, that's kind of awful in my opinion. So like, I get it. I want to be excited about it. I want it to be all the things, but like, you got to give us more than that. Like, that's like, I get it's a really good show and it takes time to get voice actors on schedule,
Mhm.
animation, all that, but like, no, I mean, this is taking too long. It's like, I mean, people are actively losing interest. And I mean, so many
Yeah.
people, my brother, like all these people are like, I like this show, but it's been so long. I'm lost interest. It's like it's like if you take this long, I mean, people are not gonna, especially when you're gonna go week to week. It's
Mhm.
like I get it, but it's like it feels like you're just like I don't know, it's taking too long. It's like going to a restaurant, you know it's good, but you know you're gonna have to sit there and wait for an hour and a half. You're like, listen, I'm hungry now, not hungry in 2 hours. Like
Right.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, but I mean, at least the break between seasons this time, as far as like the last episode of the last season, the first episode of this one is like 10 months, which is
Yeah,
way
see, but
better than the
that's
2 years, sorry, 2.5
yes,
years,
yes,
and then a 4 month break.
yes, that's true. But at the same time, while that's a lot better, that's kind of par for the course for the average show, though, to be
Yes.
honest. So it's like, I mean, maybe a little faster, but like, not really. Like,
Hmm.
especially when you were marketing that these seasons were being made at the same time to begin with. So it's kind of like, if anything, I would expect it to have been out sooner, honestly. But
Like,
I don't know. I'm
part
just
of
complaining.
me, I liked season two, but I could almost kind of feel in certain areas where that season wasn't necessarily their priority. It wasn't as high
Mhm.
quality as I was expecting a season two of Invincible to be. The fight sequences weren't quite as like as dynamic as I thought they would ramp up from season one. Like there were still some very good scenes and very good moments and whatnot, but like it wasn't quite what I was expecting after season one. I my hope is since they were being made at the same time, you know, they put more focus on season three and got season two to a point where it was good enough to release. They released it, and then all hands on deck for season three for it to look really good. And I hope that's the case because if season three looks about as good as season two, I think that would be a little disappointing because it has it like I feel like this show is popular enough. It's funded by one of the biggest companies on the planet. Like it deserves to be as good as humanly possible, and I think it can have it in it if the animators are allowed to do so.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, from everything, it seems like they're really gonna amp it up this season. As far as like, I mean, the stuff with the Viltrumite seems like it's really actually coming this time. And like,
Mhm.
I know we got, we did have some Viltrumite on Viltrumite action last season, which was really, really good. So I'm really hoping that
Yeah.
it kind of just continues to go up. I'm excited to see where things go with like Mark Nolan coming back, Alan, who's now like extremely powerful, which is kind of
Mhm.
crazy. Like, so yeah, just excited about that and see where that goes. And also just like, yeah, I'm kind of, I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like season two was kind of just like, kind of like you said, kind of like a, good, but kind of felt like it was leading to something. Like they were really focusing on this season. So you're kind of hoping that pays
Yeah.
off because really, there's a lot of things from season one we're still haven't like circled back on fully. Like, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they'll be back. And like, all right, let's see
Yeah.
what we got.
Yeah. Like I've seen some people call season two filler, and I don't think that's the word they're looking for. I get the vibe they're going for. It wasn't filler. It was more so that season like laid a lot of building blocks for stuff in the future, so that
Mhm.
way
Yes.
like the season itself doesn't end up really feeling that important, but stuff that is leading to will be really big. Just in the
Right.
moment, it doesn't feel like it's that important.
Yeah, I think filler is just that word, especially with like anime and shows, gets thrown around a lot now with anything that's not literally the main character fighting the big bad guy. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between like we're literally wasting time and yeah, like you said, building blocks toward the greater story. And I think this was definitely the latter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Um, but regardless, we won't have to wait that much longer. It's at February of next year. Next year is going to be absolutely insane with superhero
So much
stuff.
happening.
I don't know, let alone, just, oh, yeah.
Everything.
I do find it kind of fun, though, that the last time, or season one of Invincible started airing around the same time that Falcon and the Winter Soldier aired. And now, if I'm not mistaken, Captain America 4 is going to be airing is going to come out like sometime mid February. So once again, Invincible and, Falcon are going to be going at the same time. So that's kind of fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right.
It's all playing.
Um, moving on to one other thing I'm excited for next year. I don't know if you've seen this trailer, but the first trailer for that movie set in the John Wick universe, Ballerina, came out a few weeks back,
Oh.
starring Ana de Armas. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I wonder if I will like this, even if John Wick isn't, a focal point of this movie. He'll be in it, probably for the one scene he's in the trailer, one of those things. But like, will I care about this universe? Will I care about what's happening if it's not Keanu Reeves, you know, being cool and awesome? Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it is gonna still be pretty pretty awesome.
Okay, good.
Yeah. In an interview with what's the guy's name? The I can't remember this actor's name. It's the guy who is like the like head of the Continental in those movies.
Oh,
He played Blackbeard in one of the Pirates movies. Him.
remember his name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, him.
Jonathan.
Um, in an interview with him, he basically was like, "Yeah, we shot almost the entire movie back in like 2022, but the studio thought it was garbage, so they brought Chad, the guy who directed the other John Wicks. They brought him in to basically redirect the movie. They basically reshot the entire movie with a guy that should have been doing it in the first place. And yeah, you can tell in this trailer is like, yeah, there's the action looks very much just like you know John Wick action, just with Ana de Armas. Like
Not John Wick. Yeah.
that's good.
I mean, that's exactly what you would want with this idea, I would think.
Mm-hmm. exactly. And like the main like showpiece part of the end of the trailer was this guy with a flamethrower is like, shooting at her, and she runs around a corner with a hose and like shoots out a stream of water, and they're having like a anime fight with, with a hose and fire, which is a thing you apparently can do. I've seen people like that you can
That sounds
do that.
super dangerous.
Yes. But like I I like that kind of stuff in this universe where like it's not technically impossible, but it's about the peak of what reality can allow, and I like that space where it's not you know it's not supernatural, but I couldn't do that. Not even close. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah. I don't remember if there was a date, but I know it's coming out next year, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was about to say anything more John Wick, even if it's not directly John Wick, is a win in my book. So
Absolutely.
I'm for it.
Something that I personally was not looking forward to, but I'm sure a lot of people were. But now that it's come out, I think they're a little, not happy with it. Um, the Joker 2.
Oof.
You never saw the first one, right?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. Um, every single piece of new information about this movie just made it seem less and less good. I'll just say that because like initially it's like, oh, Joker 2, Harley Quinn's gonna be in it. Lady Gaga's gonna be Harley Quinn. It's like that's a choice, but sure, why not? That could work. And then it's like, oh, it's gonna be a musical. People are like,
What?
okay, I guess that's why they got Lady Gaga, but it could be interesting. And then the the like previews were happening, and every critic hated it. And the opening box, the opening weekend, no one saw it because people didn't like it. And then in interviews after the movie came out, the guy that directed it, Todd Phillips, just gave every single wrong answer you could to every question he was. Like just a couple of examples. He was asked, "Oh, with James Gunn being head of DC Studios, did he have any involvement in this movie?" And he was like, "Oh, we directed it you know, before we were pretty much done directing before he got before he took on the role, but we very intentionally wanted nothing to do with DC while making this movie. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean? You're making a Joker movie and you want nothing to do with DC? Oh, okay. And then in another interview, he said the most insane thing you can say when you're directing a sequel to The Joker. He was like, oh, well, actually, Arthur Fleck was never really the Joker. He was just Arthur Fleck. He was just a guy who was thrust into this position where he had to basically pretend to be the Joker. And this is the consequences of that happening. It's like, shut up. It's called The
It doesn't
Joker,
make any
dude.
sense.
Like, again, I haven't actually seen the movie, but from the clips and stuff I've seen, it's almost like he forgot the movie he made back in 2019 because that movie completely contradicts the thing that he's saying now about the sequel. Like I don't understand.
I don't. Yeah, yeah, no, I don't know, man. Like, well, my thing is like, first of all, yeah, like it's the Joker. Like, it yeah, it's a DC thing. Like, obviously, but I
Mhm.
mean, maybe not, I guess, if you're not for some reason. But
Like,
yeah, I mean,
like we were even
I don't
saying
know.
this about the first one, where it really felt like Todd Phillips wanted to make he wanted to make a movie. He wanted to make a movie, with a psychopath, with like all the things that are in this movie. But the studio basically told him, "Oh, you can only make that movie if you call it the Joker." So he made a movie that is titled The Joker that took a lot of elements from from like a bunch of other Robert De Niro movies and a bunch of like other, movies in this genre. And he dresses and kind of acts like the Joker a little bit in the fact that he's a
Yes.
crazy comedian. Mhm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they don't like you want it to not, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, let's make a Joker movie, but like not have it be the Joker. Like, I just don't like. They just want to make a movie, and then they're like, the network's like, oh, we won't greenlight it unless you make it about the Joker. So now they have to like throw it in there, kind of. I don't know.
Okay, like, oh, I guess we'll just
Like
write
it
in
worked
the
the first.
yeah.
Like if this had happened to the first movie, that's one thing. But you already had a great blueprint. Everyone liked it. It did a really good at the box office. Hey, do this again. Just
Mhm.
do exact. You know what I mean? Like literally, just keep pushing it down. Just have him do more Joker stuff. Like just continue. Like it's literally Joker too. Like continue to be the Joker. And it's like, no, we're not the Joker. It's like, wow.
Hmm. It's almost like this movie, or even like Todd Phillips, was embarrassed about the fact that it's a comic book movie, which is like,
Why would you do it if you don't want it? Like, I don't. What
like
did you expect
how
it to be?
how are we 15 years plus into the MCU and people are still embarrassed to be making comic book movies? Comics, comic book movies, comics in general have been around for 80 years, and you're still embarrassed about this very popular medium? What? I don't understand. Especially after the first one made $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it clearly can be successful. Just run with the idea, but I don't know. It's like people. I don't know. I think sometimes I think it's the like pride and also the love, the whole, you
Yeah.
know, just like wanting. Oh, I want to make my movie. Being like,
Mhm.
hey, let's make the smart decision. Nah.
And the kind of funny thing is, the premise of the movie could actually be a pretty interesting Joker movie. Like the premise is essentially Arthur Fleck is on trial for the things he did in the first movie. And like while
Okay.
essentially the movie takes place in basically two locations, the courthouse and Arkham Asylum.
Mm,
So like a movie about, you know, a Harvey Dent or whoever, like some lawyer, whatever, trying to like make a case for Joker while he is actively tormenting and changing Harley Quinzel into Harley Quinn on top of just you know terrorizing Arkham Asylum in general, like, and this other guy, this guy's like trying to make a case why Joker shouldn't be in there. Like I think that could be interesting, but clearly the
yeah.
way they did it, they didn't want to make the fact that Harley Quinn is in the movie at all is kind of a miracle because clearly he didn't want anything to do with DC as a property as a whole. So the fact that he even like called this character Harley Quinn is kind of wild.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I guess there won't be a Joker 3.
probably not.
But
The first movie. Why do movie studios keep doing this? The first movie I think cost about 70 million to make, and it made over $1 billion. And this movie, again, is set in largely two locations, has a $200 million budget.
Whoa.
There's no big action sequences. There's not a lot of CGI. Like there's not a lot of special effects. I don't know where it all went outside of I guess the dance and like performance sequences, but that that's not from what I've seen so far. It didn't look that extravagant. At least not $200 million worth extravagant. And it's currently sitting at only $165 million.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe
To
they
put that
can
in
use some money from
perspective,
the first movie to soften the blow.
yeah. To put that in perspective, Morbius in 167.
That's a Morbius comparison. Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, you tried, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man. And like you can't even say, oh, it just came out at a bad time or there were weird circumstances. Not really. Like there are some other movies, but none that theoretically should have been as big as the Joker. That was the biggest movie to come out the week that it came out, and it
Mhm.
just completely flopped.
Yeah, you tried, but you got it.
Yeah, we'll, we'll see. And I now whatever, it's fine. I'm done with talking about it. um, real quick, are you caught up on the Penguin?
No, not completely. I need to be.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Episode 4 is amazing. Like,
Okay.
not gonna get too spoilery, but like, it
It,
focuses a lot on Sophia's backstory, and it's incredible. Like,
so what you're saying is we have to talk about it next time for sure.
yes, absolutely. It's one
Okay.
of those things where in it can be a little annoying when you're watching a show where like there is a clear protagonist, and then there's a random episode about one of the other characters almost entirely just like a character study about this other character. The main character, another like main character isn't really present for the episode at all. And you're like, why do we care about this guy? Why do we care about what's happening here? This doesn't impact the story. Yeah, this is good. Like even though the penguin isn't really in a lot of this episode, it it's just it's good. I'll just leave it at that. It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean the show's been awesome so far, so yeah, I don't expect like things to go anywhere but up.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, it's just so funny how like you know the penguin is like top 10 but not top 5 iconic Batman villain. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. But they made a show about him, in like the world that's around him, and it's good. Matt, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to the world that Matt Reeves built, as well as just like
Mm,
how it's interesting without that. Like, it's kind of doing this thing. It's doing essentially what, like, a lot of these Sony movies kind of aren't doing.
mm,
It's kind of keeping the same world, but also showing the interesting parts that don't necessarily include Batman. Now, while a Penguin standalone series where there's no Batman ever and we have no knowledge of one, and he has no knowledge of one, doesn't sound that interesting. This one being from the perspective of we know Batman's out there, Batman's already done his thing, and Batman, he's doing his own thing. Not to mention a lot of the show does take place during the day.
Yeah.
Kind of like so Nomad's
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, so like this is actually pretty interesting. This is actually like there is more to this to explore. Gotham as a whole is really interesting. It's really interesting seeing how the criminal underworld is changing, how things are affecting, how Penguin's slowly taking over.
Yeah.
It's really good, and of course, excellent act. I mean, really good acting. The writing's been solid. Like it's really well done.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, it's also fascinating how Batman has. I don't think after the little like opening bit that like kind of recapped the movie and then like said it a week after that. I don't think Batman's been mentioned a single time.
Not really, but
I,
honestly, yeah. Like, I mean, it works though, because like, you kind of know in the back of your head, like he's there, but it's also like, this is what the show's about, so it kind of works.
yeah, right. Like if it were like an episode of a Batman cartoon and Penguin were doing a thing similar to what he's doing in the show, then yeah, by the end of it, Batman would come in and stop it. But that's not what the show is. So that's I don't need him to like show up every episode to stop what's happening. That's not what this is about, and that's fine.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's good. Obviously, really highly recommend you get caught up on it because it's good.
Good stuff. Okay.
Have you seen any Agatha?
Yeah, I'm cut. Well, actually, I think a new episode came out yesterday. I don't think I saw it,
Yes, I
but
haven't seen the last two episodes. I've only seen through episode four.
okay.
But
Okay, so wait, that was so you got through the like nice house trial,
yes,
and then the what was
the
the next one?
the fire trial with like the band at the end.
Yeah, the fire
Yeah,
band. Okay, was that the last
yeah,
episode you
that one.
saw?
Yes, that was the
Okay,
last
okay,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm digging it.
What are
I
your thoughts?
really like this show a
I am
lot.
too. It's not what I thought it was gonna be, like at
No,
all. But I'm rolling with it. I kind of like it. I like how it kind of like it took a while to get started at first because that first episode it was definitely kind of more of like the mystery. What's going on? What can we do? And then it's like, nope, it's a quest show. We're like, oh, all right,
yeah,
here we go.
yeah. I loved so much how the first episode, you know, 90% of the audience is going to be watching the show also watch WandaVision. So the first episode is basically there just to trick the audience into thinking that it's going to be, oh, every episode is like a different genre, like how WandaVision was. Like, oh, this episode's the detective crime drama episode, and other episodes will be other kinds of other shows like that. But no, that's not what we're doing, and I respect them for
Right?
that. Even though that was very well done, that's not what this is, and that's okay. But yeah, Catherine Hahn is killing it. This. Oh man.
And loving every second of it too. You can tell.
Mm, yeah,
She's like,
like I mean that's kind of how I feel about all the actors, like Aubrey Plaza, loving it.
mm,
Patty LuPone, Joe Locke is he's honestly he might be the weakest of the guys playing Billy. I assume. I haven't seen past his episode, so I'm going to assume that he's Wanda's kid somehow. But um,
most
he
likely, but yeah, we'll see.
yeah he I don't know, like of the actors he might be my least favorite, mostly because he's not. This is not a dig against him. It's just this is how time works. He's not an experienced enough actor to like hide his British accent exactly well enough yet. like you know, Benedict Cumberbatch or I don't know, Hugh Laurie or who other people who've been playing
Hmm.
American accents for decades now. Joe Locke just
Right, you
doesn't
don't
have
even
that yet.
notice.
It's so every now and then you can like kind of see certain words kind of slip through, but you know, I still think he's doing a fine job. But Mrs. Hart was amazing for the 3 episodes she was in.
Oh my gosh, this is hard. I was like, first of all, I'm like, you cannot tell me you took this sweet old lady basically to like God knows where,
Yep.
other dimension, and I'm just like,
Knowing full well
man,
she
that
was
is
not the right person for the job.
no, 100%, and like not like oh, this is what we like actively like yeah, basically killing a person. Like yeah, we'll send her to this magical death row essentially. Like she'll
Mm,
be fine, and clearly wasn't. But like, oh man, I do like the group. Though. I did not think I was gonna like the group
oh
going
yeah.
in, but the group kind of grew on me. I was like, okay, this the vibes. I do like the vibes. I do think it's kind of working.
Mm,
But we'll see how it goes, especially as these episodes go on. But it's a really good show so far. I'm really surprised with how they're going. I'm kind of excited to see what implications this has going forward, though, because they're doing all this, so there's got to be something.
yeah, like obviously a lot of people are expecting Wanda to come back at the end in some capacity. Maybe Rio, Aubrey Plaza's character, who is probably Death, the character Death. Just
Maybe.
a lot of things, especially in episode 4, just a lot of the conversations that Agatha and her had. Like a lot of, I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of it are hints to her. Need to collect bodies. Don't take him away from me. Like those kinds of things. Like maybe I came up from wherever you summoned me from. Like that. Just a lot of that feels to me like that's where that character is going. So if there's anyone who could bring Wanda back from the dead, assuming she is actually dead, who knows? It would be her.
Yeah. A lot of potential implications, really exciting. It's definitely going to be one of those until it happens. You're like, wait, oh no, wait a minute. And then it happens, like, oh, and then, something big, hopefully.
Mm, yeah. Um, yeah. Like not a lot else to say at this point for the show. Like I said, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm excited to watch more of it, but it's one of the shows where I watch with my brother, so I haven't like we're not together all the time. That when we finish it,
Right.
we'll the next time we talk about it will probably be when we wrap up the whole thing, which I think is 9 episodes. So the first week or two of November is when it'll end.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think a very, very good show
Okay.
so far.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, that's been really good. Yeah, it's been again surprisingly really good. I expected almost nothing from this show, not in a mean way, but just kind of felt like a show we're just making just to make, and like so far, I've been really pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week, but just like with the Penguin, when I'm like, oh, who's asking for this? Why is this getting made? Like, you know, when they announce an Agatha show, like I like the character, but I don't know if they can make a whole show out of her. They're making a whole show out of her. Oh, let's believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and it's one of those things too where it's like, yeah, I like Captain Han, so I was like, okay, sure, but I was like, oh, okay, this is actually it's not just an excuse to give Captain Han a show. It's like, oh, it's actually really good too. Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah. I want to put a show on your radar if you haven't actually heard or seen this yet. There's a show on a Max called The Franchise. There are 2 episodes out so far. I've only seen the first one, but it's essentially a show about making a Marvel movie, but it's not like actually making a Marvel. It's like a parody of people making a like a superhero franchise movie, and just you can tell so hard that the people making this either know people or directly made or directly themselves worked on superhero projects because
Mm.
just the way the people like on set interact with each other, the way the actors in the movie they're making are like are like the way they're being difficult, the way certain things are going wrong. There's one scene in particular where like the producer of the movie, who was like a guy that corporate sent onto the set just to make sure everything is going correctly. He was talking to the director and he was like, "Oh, by the way, the fish people they're not in this anymore." Like, what do you mean the fish people? Like, oh yeah, in our last movie, their whole entire planet got wiped out, so nix them. It's like, but they're an integral part of our story. It's like, yeah, so sorry, right around it. I'm like, that's so real because like for example, the people who are writing Secret Invasion have to write around the fact that in this other project, no, actually, the scrolls are good guys. So you gotta make scrolls that are bad also. I know there are other examples. I can't think of them right now, but I know there have been times in Marvel specifically where it's like, oh, this thing should be here, but it's not. Oh, I remember James Gunn when making Guardians 3, he has to deal with the fact that Gamora isn't the same Gamora. She's
Oh
not a part of the
yeah,
team.
because the whole like Infinity War thing, and then it's kind of like, oh, cool.
Yeah, he did it very
So we have
well,
to.
but he still, I'm sure it wasn't a hurdle he was looking forward to having to cross.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like in the movie. It's one of those things like in the movie, Infinity War it works really well, but then you think of the repercussions of like, okay, so we still signed Zoe Saldana for this movie, but our character's dead.
Yeah.
So we're either gonna do, lots of flashbacks, which nobody wants, or we're gonna have to do some wiggle room because they're not gonna write her back in. You can't just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. And
But
the guy who's playing the director, he plays Baron Zemo, in the Captain America stuff. Like there's actually a couple of different actors in this who have been in superhero or like franchise stuff. Richard E. Grant, he played General Pride from Rise of Skywalker. He also played the like old man classic Loki from episode 5 of season 1 of
oh
Loki.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah, he played
okay.
that guy. And like and his character in this is a guy who's like just so done with making these kinds of movies. Like I was born for the theater. Why do I have to do these kinds of things? Like acting next to this guy who was cast like basically as a newbie to be the main character, like kind of like a Chris Pratt Guardian kind of vibe to him. Just done with them.
He's just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, but he kind of has to.
Uh, and the Baron Zemo guy, he constantly complains about like I've been on tour. I made like this this like it wasn't it was like the idea of him like usually makes these like um it's like thoughtful, provoking, like French, like those kinds of like you know there's like a word for him, but like film major movies, those that kind of vibe. What I'm getting
Like
at?
pure cinema, like
Yeah, exactly. He makes cinema now. He like wants to make this the way he would like, but the studio keeps telling him to make all these notes. But I wanted to have a message. I want to have a purpose, but the studio doesn't want to see that. So he actually like mentioned something that studios have done before. Again, I can't think of any examples, but I know there have been times when a movie is being made and they shoot it in a way where they can like cut stuff out so that when they show the studio the finished project, the like there's certain messages and things in it that are completely gone, so that way when it gets released, they don't even know it's going to be in there. You mentioned having to do something like that. It's like that's like again, the people that made this, they've made these things before, and I
Like
appreciate
they
it.
know exactly how it goes with the industry.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
it's
annoying though.
mm, yeah. I like it.
But
I've only seen the first episode.
okay.
It's one of those things where, like, from watching the trailers, I could easily have seen it either be like, oh, this is really smart, this is really well put together, or it's like, oh, this could get annoying really fast. As far as the first episode, I think it's I think it's at least more towards the first one. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I might have to check that out because I think that's like a concept that's really interesting. 'Cause again, we've got to the point where, like you said, we're what 15 years in the Marvel
At least,
movies
yeah.
being ginormous. So it's like, it makes sense that we finally get to the point like, oh, we can make a satire about how these movies that everyone's statistically seen are made.
Hmm. Exactly. Um, yeah, I think those also premiere on Sundays along with the Penguin. So
And you said it's on
sure.
Max, right?
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna add to
there's
the
two
list.
episodes out now. Okay. Next up, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero came out last week,
Woo!
and
Yes, it did.
it is the fastest selling Dragon Ball game, selling over 3 million units in one day.
That's me. I'm like, that's me. I was one of those. Day one, as soon as the store opened, I was like, "Hi, how are you?"
Mhm.
Bought an entire console for this game, and it was completely worth it.
Um, a couple of questions about the console itself, because I don't actually know anyone who has a PS5. I guess now I do. How does the controller feel relative to the PS4 controller?
There's a lot more like individual, like what is it, haptics, or
Yeah,
whatever
haptic
the
feedback.
like
Yeah.
vibration. Yes, that one, haptic feedback. Like it's a lot more noticeable, especially with like pretty much any game that you like have any kind of contact with anything. So like I've noticed it especially with like Sparking Zero, that college football game we've been playing, or even that game like the preloaded little
Astrobot.
robot explorer game. Yeah,
Yeah.
that first of all, that was super fun. That was very unexpected. But that game was like you could feel like you're like even in like adventure game, like I put Ghost of Tsushima up there. You can like feel walking in through tall grass and things like that. Like there's a lot of added like I guess immersion. I guess is the best way of putting it. I think's really solid. Obviously, the graphics look really really good because it's PlayStation 5 and
Yeah.
it's a really cool. I mean, it's really cool to have. I mean, do I think? I mean, I haven't seen the Pro, but I'm like, personally, the PS5 has already blown me away. So I don't think the Pro is going to be that much
Right.
better, especially not for 200 plus extra dollars. But
Yeah. Ridiculous. Without a disk drive, so really it's 300 extra if you want. Yeah.
right, like, come on,
Ridiculous.
guys. But
Yeah.
whatever. But all that to say, I mean, it's pretty great. But Sparking Zero makes it worth it. I mean, the game is everything. If you want it, like if you ever played the old Budokai Tenkaichi games, this is the game you always wanted, 100%.
Hmm. Yeah. We were talking a little before. It's just so nice when you want a game to exist so badly, and then it's announced and it releases. And it's like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, and like I just remember when they were like the trailers came out and they were saying, yeah, this is the next one. I'm like, okay, but then it's like, oh, but we're gonna have this many characters. Oh, okay, well they say that, but and then we're gonna have all this. I'm like, and all this, and I'm like, are they really gonna do it? And the game comes out, you're like, oh yeah, no, they literally took the old game, brought it here, cleaned it off, added new stuff that didn't exist yet, and then they're like, here you go, here's everything, and it is as advertised. It is, yeah, it's great. I have yet to. I've been playing it for like a week straight, and so far I don't really have any complaints, like at all.
Is the online play? Is it? Have you done any of that?
I have not actually yet on the online place because I haven't got my online set up yet. But
Hmm.
from what I've heard from other people who've been playing online, apparently everyone got good very quickly, is what I've heard
Yeah.
online. Which my argument was because I kind of said this earlier, but like the combat's exactly the same. It is like I was putting in combos I haven't used in 10 years, like it was nothing. And I was just like, oh,
Hmm.
yeah, that was exactly how you use this. Teleport behind him, kick him in the face, going across, like it's weird, but it's so much fun. So, like, yeah, I'm excited. And I'm ready to beat all my friends.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice when when a game that anticipated or movie or whatever that anticipated does finally come out and it actually is super successful. Like it actually lives up to the hype in all areas. So great.
Yeah, I honestly have no complaints. I mean, I thought about it for a while, and I'm kind of just like, no, I feel like I, I mean, like, I guess you could kind of nitpick, maybe, but like, it's like you would only nitpick. It's like, oh, they don't have this feature. Well, yeah, but they have this feature that basically replaces that and kind of makes it better.
Yeah.
And they had this new thing that didn't exist yet. That's actually really awesome. And it's like, yeah, that's true.
uh, um,
So yeah, it's great.
very nice. The last bit of news that I have here is something that I find personally very exciting. Um, the FTC has issued a new ruling called the click to cancel rule for all memberships and subscription services across the board.
Oh,
Every single thing that you have you're required to pay monthly or annually or whatever as a recurring fee has to have some kind of way where you can easily cancel as easy as you subscribed. There's just
I I love that. I love that because we know companies try to make it in the finest, smallest print possible after four firewalls. I'm like, are you sure? Like, it's so easy to put in your info and sign up, but it's so hard to get out of it. So I love that.
right, like so many places you have to call a certain number and then and like sometimes people don't pick up or sometimes they like try to haggle with you or you only do it at a certain time or gym memberships especially are notoriously
Yes,
disgusting with that kind of thing because that's how they get most of the
dude.
money. The vast majority of gyms revenue comes from people forgetting they don't have a membership or just not not being willing to cancel because it's too hard.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they like a lot of gyms. They'll be like, you have to physically come to the location to cancel, even if you like move
No.
or whatever, because they're trying to like intimidate you when you come in or try to like talk you
Mm,
out of it. It's like, bro, listen, if you have to like trick me or manipulate me to pay for it, maybe you're just not offering a good service. Like,
yeah.
come on, man.
So if if you can sign up for a gym membership online, you should be able to cancel the same way. If you have to do
100%.
something like calling, you can only you essentially as long as you can cancel as easily as it is to sign up, I'm fine with that. If you have to jump through a million hoops to sign up for something, then I think it may be fair to cancel in the same in the same amount of steps. But if it's, oh yeah, sign up for Netflix. So I think Netflix also has a weird little way where you have to call or something like that. Maybe
Huh?
um, I could be wrong about that, but regardless, now especially with that ruling, um, they'll have to make it so that you can just easily cancel. Because a lot of things will advertise cancel anytime, blah blah. Like, but
Hmm.
how easy
But
is
not
that?
really.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they make it so difficult to cancel just in the hope of, oh, they'll won't do it. Or like, it's like make it as hard as possible to like not take your money. And it's like,
Mm,
come on, guys.
yeah. But that's very good. I think that'll just help a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and across the board. Because at first I thought it was it was just going to be like streaming services and that kind of thing, but then they specifically did say memberships, including gym memberships, which that's good. So yeah, and it'll start
Yeah.
beginning of next year. So which is great because
Well,
that's when New
that's
Year's
when
Eve comes around,
gyms get
people will
all their
start.
people. Yep.
Mm-hmm,
Yep. January 1st, everybody comes to the gym like, this is my year. And then by,
yep.
January 2nd, they're like, no, it's not.
by February, Planet Fitness might be out of business. Who knows?
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, they're gonna be in trouble. But you know,
Yeah.
like I said, if you have to fight people slash trick people into keeping your business, maybe your product's not that great.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. Something that people have been wanting for years now. So that's because the FTC finally, finally did that. I think that's everything I have. Anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
Uh, I don't think so. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care.